Hello, everyone. Welcome to New Gen Politics. So, the Iran situation is spiraling out of control. After Trump decided to bomb Fordo yesterday, other countries have come to Iran's aid and have said that they're going to help defend the country because they see this as potentially an act of war by the United States. Now, for a long time, Trump and his administration and a lot of the MAGA people were saying that you can separate war with Iran from simply bombing Fordo and keeping them from getting a nuclear weapon, which I was saying I don't think is true. I don't think you can actively bomb another country, try to totally remove their ability to defend themselves against two other nuclear powers, which is the whole point of them getting a nuclear weapon is to participate in Mad Doctrine, because Israel has a secret nuke program that they're not supposed to have, but somehow we allow them to have one, but not Iran. So Iran feels threatened. They feel backed into a corner. That's why they're always on the precipice of one, because they know if they actually make one, the U.S. will get involved. But if they're just on the precipice, if they get invaded by Israel, then they can, finally finish it up. Well, we took away their ability to do that. And now other countries are saying that this has led to kind of a disproportionate balance in the region, and so they want to get involved. And so you even have countries like North Korea and Pakistan saying that they're willing to supply nuclear weapons to Iran. And you also have China bringing in supplies, Russia saying they're going to back them. So how are we going to stop that? How are we going to stop a country that already has nuclear weapons like North Korea from just giving nuclear weapons to Iran? We're not really going to be able to. I mean, besides attacking North Korea or stopping that physical transaction, because we already don't trade with them. It's not like we can really economically hurt them that sufficiently. And then you have to deal with China and Russia now totally cozied up together. It's just spiraling out of control. The parliament of Iran has said they want to close the Strait of Hormuz, so they're going to skyrocket the oil prices. That's not going to help Trump's image. So, recently in the last couple of weeks, Trump has, effectively started a war with Iran, even if it's a cold war. And he has, effectively raised the prices of everything. This is not looking good for him. It's not looking good for his presidency. Like I said, separating those two things, I don't think you were able to do. Separating bombing Iran and taking away their nuclear capabilities from starting a war with them. And it seems other countries are willing to back them. So this is a very, very tense situation. And the problem, the reason they wanted a nuclear weapon or to be on the precipice of having one was because look what Israel is now immediately doing and some of the people in the U.S. were doing, which is calling for regime change in Iran. So when they don't have the ability to be on a level playing field, right? They don't have nuclear weapons. You're not part of the club. You don't get to participate in Mad Doctrine. Anybody at any time can take you over, basically. And Israel is already calling for regime change. And so now Iran feels very threatened. And so that's why these other countries are stepping in and saying, we see the game you're playing here. You're moving the goalposts. You're constantly moving the goalposts. And it's the same thing that's happened with all of Israel's neighbors, the total destabilization of all of them. And now Iran feels backed into a corner. And now other countries like North Korea see this as a valuable opportunity to challenge Western power. And no one wins in this situation because fundamentally the whole Mad Doctrine thing is broken. The whole no one else is allowed to get a nuclear weapon besides the powers that already had them, right? That social contract's already broken because we've allowed Israel, who isn't supposed to have nuclear weapons, to get nuclear weapons. And at the same time, we're saying certain countries that we don't like are not allowed to have them just because we don't like them. Well, other countries that like those countries say, well, we don't like how Israel has nuclear weapons that they're not supposed to have. And so the U.S. is not playing fair here. Trump's not playing fair. If he was playing fair, and I'm not saying we should be for Iran getting a nuclear weapon. I'm just saying that if they're not allowed to have one, we should do investigations on Israel, find out how many they have, find out if they actually have them, which allegedly they do have several dozen nuclear weapons, which they're supposed to have zero. But we don't do investigations on that for Israel. And Trump is not calling for that. He's not calling for fairness. And so to say this on the world stage that you're just, blatantly playing favorites as the world hegemon, well, you lose the respect of the world. And then suddenly that world hegemon spot, goes out the window. And that's why China and Russia are working together. And then you also have Pakistan, a very sizable country, a nuclear power, and North Korea, a nuclear power, a very militarized country, all coming together. This is a serious problem. for the West. Serious, serious problem. And it did not have to be this way. Trump is just kind of going along with the warmongers. I don't know why he's doing this. I don't know why he thinks that bombing them and then calling for negotiations is a good thing. I don't understand why he is glorifying the fact that he set up Iran twice, where he says, oh, we're going to negotiate with you on Sunday, and then on Wednesday he okays Israel bombing them, which I don't even know if he okayed Israel bombing them. I think Bibi might have just done that and Trump couldn't stop him, but Trump didn't want to look like he was unable to stop him. So then he came out and said, well, actually it was my idea, like we were okay with it. And then he says, we'll give you 2 weeks to negotiate. And then like 2 days later, bombs them again. And so how can you trust anything the United States says? How can you trust anything Trump says when he literally will set up meetings to lower your guard just so he can then bomb you? And that's how the rest of the world is seeing this, is like, you're not playing fair. You're playing favorites. You're actively trying to call for regime change in another country, or at least people in your cabinet are. And then you're going in and setting things up, setting up meetings and then immediately bombing people after that. So you're using negotiations as a tool of war. You're using, this talks of peace as a tool of war. And so the rest of the world looks at that in disgust and says that that is not how you should operate as a country, especially as a country that values, at least on paper, fairness and equality, and that we're going to be the mediator and we're the world superpower. And so we kind of maintain everything. We don't play favorites. No, clearly you're playing favorites. And I'm not saying you can't have allies and enemies. The U.S. should have allies and enemies, but we shouldn't be playing favorites to this degree, which is causing other nuclear powers to get very, very afraid of how the U.S. just, is going to treat any country that they want to regime change, that they want to keep from getting nuclear powers, but their allies can have them. And so the world's separating in two, and we thought it was going to separate in three. We thought it was going to be the U.S., China, and Russia. Well, now China and Russia are even closer than ever. You're pushing them closer and closer together. And so that's even more dangerous. Instead of having three powers checking each other, you only have two. And two of them, become one entity as an alliance against the United States. And I don't think we win in that scenario. I don't, economically, militaristically, even in terms of our reputation. Like I said, Trump has done things this week that has hurt the reputation of himself and the United States on the world stage. So this was a total disaster. This didn't need to happen. Now, since Iran is talking about escalating things, everybody's shocked, and they're like, how could this possibly have happened? It's I don't know, maybe bombing people after calling for negotiations might have had something to do with it. It's just a total disaster. You're seeing protests about it already in the US, and this is not a partisan thing. It's the majority of the left doesn't like this, and then basically half of the right, the far right, doesn't like this. The only people who like this are Fox News consumers who are like, oh yeah, we got to go get Iran. That's it. That's the only group who likes this. And so, how are you possibly going to have a conflict with Iran or other countries or escalate towards a world war if, the majority of people don't support it? It's 80 or 90% of people don't support war with Iran. It was most of the GOP supported, 70%-ish supported keeping them from getting a nuclear weapon. But they didn't have one. And they've been Bibi Netanyahu himself has been saying they've been on the precipice of having one for 20 years. They're 2 weeks away. They've been 2 weeks away for 20 years. Well, they haven't gotten one because they know if they get one, the U.S. will attack. But if they're not on the precipice of one, then Israel will attack. And so they wanted to be in that, Goldilocks zone of uranium enrichment. And then Trump says, even though you don't have one yet, now we're going to, escalate things ourselves. And so you've kind of taken away their security blanket there. They feel threatened, and now other countries are doing what Trump didn't want them to do, which is coming to their aid. So I hope this can de-escalate. I think it still can de-escalate. I think real negotiations have to take place, and I think somebody other than the United States is going to have to mediate because we're kind of the aggressors here. So you'll probably have to get somebody like China or Russia to mediate. And who knows if we'll accept to those terms. I think Trump is kind of getting really angry that his base over the last couple of weeks has been pretty upset with basically everything he's done, every decision he's made. So I don't know if this was about the Taco Don thing. I don't know if this was about him chickening out. I don't know what this was about, but It's not looking good for him, and he continues to turn his back on his base, which is no wars, lower the cost of living for everybody. And in one foul swoop, he's decided to actually do both of those things in reverse, right? Start a new war and raise the cost of everything, because Iran wants to raise the cost of oil, shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. So not looking good for Trump. Also backing down on the illegal immigration thing, like kicking the illegals out. He like walked all that back and said he's gonna like let them stay if they work at hotels or in agriculture. And so not been a good week for Trump. Not looking good for him. And the people doubling down on this and like saying they're willing to follow Trump into whatever he decides to do is not a good thing. That, like I said in previous videos, the statement of, oh, it's America first, just whatever Trump says is America first. That's not true. Something is America first because it is America first, physically. It's not because you name it that. It's just crazy when they're like, oh, well, starting new wars with other countries we have nothing to do with is America first. It's like, no, it's not. That's not how it works. America first means, does this help the average life of the average citizen? And starting a new war and raising the price of everything is not going to accomplish that. Or escalating into World War III is not going to accomplish that either. Or, getting into some massive conflict with China or Russia is not going to help that either. So it's spiraling out of control. I hope Trump can pump the brakes. I hope he can say, you know what, maybe we were wrong on this. I hope he can keep Israel in check. If Israel wants to go forward with any sort of regime change or Trump's got to shut that down immediately. Because that is the one thing that is going to back Iran to a corner. And these other countries are going to say we have no choice but to escalate this into a real fight. So that's my thoughts on this. If you made it all the way through the video, I appreciate it. If you like the content, like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And thank you for watching.